There we go, a little bit of Take That. Could it be magic? Good morning, everybody. Welcome to BBC Three Counties Radio. It's Thursday, the 22nd of June. It's 6:20. I'm Andy Collins. I hope you are well and in good form.
Local and vocal across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is Andy Collins
on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Opposition councillors are challenging plans by Milton Keynes Council to fund traffic calming measures in Bedfordshire. It's looking to give £50,000 to Central Bedfordshire Council to reduce the traffic in Apsley Guys. The Conservative opposition say the decision is bizarre and that the money should be spent in Milton Keynes. John Baker is a local resident and campaigner for the improvements to Apsley Guys and joins me on the line now. Good morning to you, John.
Good morning, and thank you for inviting me onto your show.
Oh, thank you very much for joining us. So, paint us a little bit of a picture then. What's the traffic like then?
So, Aspley Guys is west of the M1 Junction 13. There is a road that runs from Junction 13 into southern Milton Keynes. It's a very small road, a village road. It is a single carriageway in sections. And over the years, the traffic has increased substantially as Milton Keynes has grown and generated new jobs. It's probably best articulated by looking at traffic count figures produced by Central Beds Council. They counted traffic in 2014 and noticed over 1,000 cars a day on average over a week. They did the same survey in 2012, and the 2014 figure was a 34% increase in traffic volumes. So 3 years later, the traffic is even greater than it was then.
Wow, that is quite a big increase. So where's the traffic come from? Are you saying it's mainly coming from the Milton Keynes part?
No, the traffic clearly coming from the Bedfordshire end. This is the residents of Bedford, Flitwick, Ampthill, but in all fairness, it's people driving their cars up the M1 as well and turning off at Junction 13 and passing through Aspley Guys to reach southern Milton Keynes. So there are many business parks on southern Milton Keynes. You've also got Bletchley. Milton Keynes essentially is guilty of generating too many jobs, and the two authorities haven't sat down at any point in the last 40 years and figured out how to build a bypass around Aspley Guys, Husband Crawley and other Central Beds villages, which means the traffic is naturally passing through Aspley Guys.
So in theory, some traffic calming would be a good idea. What are we looking at here? What type of traffic calming?
Essentially, we have two problems. We have speeding traffic entering the village and leaving the village, and we have congestion in the centre of the village because it basically can't get through. It's a single carriageway road at sections, so it's going to be a very expensive scheme. I know Central Beds Council believe it might be 150k, but probably actually it's going to be closer to 250k.
250k for that traffic calming. But I've got all that. So I'm just trying to get the picture in my head. So an increase in traffic, like you said, the figures is going up. It's going up, and like you said, it's mainly people coming from Bedfordshire. So why should Milton Keynes be paying for traffic calming measures then?
Well, I mean that's a good question, but essentially Aspley Guys sits on the boundary of Milton Keynes. It's part of Central Bedfordshire Council, but it will always be affected by the growth of Milton Keynes. This can't be avoided. Milton Keynes is not going to stop growing. It has a local plan to double in size over the next 20 to 30 years. So the two authorities effectively need to sit down with each other. Their elected representatives need to sit down with each other and sort out a long-term plan. I mean, this is bigger than just traffic calming. I mean, if we can't sort out traffic calming, what can we sort out? They need to sit down, talk to each other, and figure out how to solve a problem, which isn't going to go away, to make life better for the residents of Aspley Guys, but also life better for the residents of those who want to commute to Milton Keynes. They don't want to be stuck in Aspley Guys in the morning. They want to, they want to use a dual carriageway and get straight to work.
And if it's going to grow, what about other infrastructure? You talk there maybe of like a bypass?
Well, there has to be something. There isn't room for much more traffic to pass through Aspley Guys. We have the Oxford-Cambridge Expressway, which might solve part of the problem, but, well, I know Milton Keynes is actively campaigning for that. I'm not sure if Central Beds has actively campaigned as much as Milton Keynes has. There is some solution is required, and the residents of Aspley Guys, and in all fairness, Husband Crawley and Aspley Heath, are effectively just sitting in the middle of two authorities that just aren't talking to each other enough.
So basically, you need the two authorities to talk to each other and work something out. Good luck with that one, John. We do actually have. We approached both authorities for a comment. What have they said, please, Ben?
Yes. So Central Bedfordshire Council told us that for the last 2 years they've been trying to get a traffic calming scheme in place for Aspley Guys, as a lot of traffic that currently passes through there on the way to the M1 at Junction 13 comes from Milton Keynes Keynes, they say. Central Bedfordshire Council Highways officers designed 2 schemes, which were put in the hands of CBC's senior projects officer, who set about negotiating a contribution to the cost of the scheme with Milton Keynes Council. We are still currently waiting for confirmation of the exact sum that they'll be offering towards the total cost. We also approached Milton Keynes Council. However, they've declined to comment on this story.
What do you make of it all, John? Those statements. Obviously, one council being quite vocal, the other one going, no comment. We're not going to talk about it at the moment.
Well, and there we go. I mean, we just need some people in a room talking to each other, sorting it out. It is difficult to agree that the traffic is all coming from Milton Keynes. This isn't the residents of Milton Keynes leaving Milton Keynes every morning heading off to Flitwick to work. I mean, I'm a parent. I walk my son to school. Like many parents, it's very frustrating trying to cross a very busy road, and we sit there in the morning and we wait for lots of cars heading in the Milton Keynes direction to stop and let us cross. And in the evening, we wait for lots of cars, essentially less cars at 3:30, but still the flow is from Milton Keynes outwards. So, I mean, I think that point's hard to agree with, and I'm sure I might have upset Central Beds Council by just being slightly too honest. The funding for the scheme essentially needs to be sorted out between the two councils. It just can't be left for the residents to sit here and kind of piggy in the middle of these essentially arguments. We're not interested in arguments, we're just interested in solutions.
John, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Really appreciate it. Thank you. That was John Baker, who's a local resident and campaigner for improvements to Aspley Guys. And obviously, we'll keep you updated when eventually the two councils decide to talk to each other. And what happens, we'll keep you updated with all of that. Okay, let's move on. Opposition councillors are challenging plans by Milton Keynes Council to fund traffic calming measures in Bedfordshire. It's given £50,000 to Central Bedfordshire Council to reduce the traffic in Apsley Guys. The Conservatives say the decision is bizarre and that the money should be spent in Milton Keynes. Cllr Bint is a Conservative councillor representing the Broughton ward, and he joins me on the line now. Good morning to you, John.
Good morning.
So what do you make of all this then?
I think there's a mixture of things going on. In my ward, Broughton, which covers Broughton and Brooklands, we've got a number of long-standing issues over Fen Street and Countess Way, and we keep being told that the council would love to do more to solve them, except it doesn't have the money. And then we get told that money that was allocated for solving these problems in our ward, that's probably money come from the tariff to build the houses in this ward, they've taken it away from this ward and they've given it, we discover later, to Central Bedfordshire. And when they gave it to Central Bedfordshire, they did it in code so that nobody was allowed to know that this money was going outside the borough. So we couldn't even challenge the decision in March. It's really most unsatisfactory.
How unusual is it to fund another authority's project?
I've been a councillor for the best part of 10 years, and this has never happened, to my knowledge, in this time. This is really unusual. And the fact that it happened, and it didn't even say so in the paperwork at the time, there was a kind of like a code name for the project that said Strategic Land Traffic Mitigation. That doesn't tell councillors and citizens that what this really means is give your money to a neighbouring authority.
Okay. What do you feel then that the project should the money be spent on then instead?
We've got a new school built the other side of a new road from new houses. I've got residents crying out for a crossing. We want some traffic calming measures. We've got new houses built with footpaths within the area, but no joined up footpaths to actually go to Tanfield Square or the Broughton Pavilion or lots of other things. And the money was allocated for our ward. This is money that came from these new houses in my ward. We want it to go to issues that need doing. So it's really important that those projects go ahead before we get an accident outside the new schools.
We were talking earlier on the show to John Baker, who's a local resident and campaigner for improvements to Apsley Guys, and he was saying, shouldn't the council just be talking to each other, working together on this? You don't agree?
Yes, they should. And if there really is a case that it's Milton Keynes growth that's caused this problem, if there really is a case for that, then we could consider it. But actually, it's happened under the radar. As a member of council trying to scrutinise what cabinet decisions are about, we couldn't scrutinise this because nobody came up front and said, we're giving 50,000 of your money to somewhere else and this is the reason. So I think that aspect of it was deeply
is that for you, John, the main issue? It's not the fact that, it would be spent on traffic calming, that road leading from Milton Keynes to the M1. That's not the issue. The fact that it was done under, in your words, in secret and in using code language, is that what really got you upset?
Well, that's the first thing that gets you upset. Once you discover that they're trying to give your money away, or indeed they've already committed to giving one tranche of your money to a neighbouring authority, then you want to know why. And it looks like we can't find that out because nobody's published that information. And then you ask whether this is a modest contribution to a big project or whether actually we're paying for the whole thing, and nobody can tell us that either at the moment. And then you discover that Bedfordshire isn't even putting any of its own money towards it, so it looks like the only money for solving this Bedfordshire problem is Milton Keynes money. That can't be right.
OK, John, appreciate you joining us this morning. Thank you very much indeed. That was Cllr Bint, who's a Conservative councillor representing the Broughton ward. Let's talk now to Sam Crooks. He's a Lib Dem councillor from the Broughton ward as well. Good morning to you, Sam.
Good morning, Andy, and if John's still there, good morning, John.
John's gone, unfortunately, but thank you very much for joining us this morning, Sam. I presume then you agree with John there?
Absolutely. This really is a scandal, and everything that John said about the impact on local residents and the various things that are not being done on Fen Street and Cantus Way is absolutely right. There was a development brief published in 2005 which talked about the importance of road safety in this area, and subsequently there have been a number of planning approvals about how the roads should develop. None of that is actually being implemented, and only yesterday I discovered that it's not possible for the police immediately to enforce the speed limits because the signage isn't correct. The council's activities on the whole of what we call the eastern side, or the eastern expansion area in Milton Keynes, have been a disaster. And this is one more indication of that and what has gone wrong.
So what is the answer then? We've got to do something, surely, have we?
The answer is to go back to the 2005 development brief, realise that that was the guideline, the blueprint, if you like, for how over 3,000 houses were going to be built on the eastern flank, and implement what it said about quality of life and road safety.
Okay, I mean, John said it looks like Milton Keynes will be footing the entire bill for the traffic calming, but the statement that we've had from Central Bedfordshire has called it a contribution towards the cost, which suggests that they're paying for it too. Why shouldn't the councils be working together on this?
Well, I'm all in favour of them working together, but that doesn't mean that you make transfers. I mean, we don't go to Central Beds to ask them to help us manage our traffic on the A421 down towards the motorway. We don't go to Northamptonshire Council to ask them to help us manage our traffic.
Maybe you should, Sam. Maybe you should.
I think that's a very good idea. We should send them all invoices.
Because, I mean, from Milton Keynes, people are using that road from Milton Keynes to go to the M1. So, it is being used by people in Milton Keynes, so maybe they should contribute towards the traffic calming.
No, I think there are two separate things there. Fen Street is a road, and Cantus Way, indeed, are roads that are part of the eastern expansion area. They link to the A421, but the A421 is best served by what we call the V11, that's Tongwell Street. OK, Sam, I appreciate it. I have to say it's quite rare for Lib Dems and Conservatives to both oppose plans in Milton Keynes, isn't it? No, as far John would agree with me absolutely in this. We put our residents first, politics second. Thank you very much for joining us, Sam. I appreciate it this morning.